Delighted to be joined by Maxi Hughes. It's been a little while, mate, before we've caught up, mate. How are you?
All good, mate. You know, we were just saying, weren't we? You were last year, February, freezing, horrible cold weather. Noticed a few changes. Garden's looking well. Still more work to be done, but yeah, we're all good. Obviously, fight announcements just happened as well this week, so you know, it's all looking good.
You've done a great job, haven't you? How many hours and days has that took to get to how it was now?
It takes some effort, you know. But you know, if you want to be a proper loansmith, you've got to put in the hours. Same with boxing, you want to be the best, you've got to put the hours in, haven't you?
Obviously, the Kambosas fight's been announced the other day. What's your kind of thoughts and feelings now the fight's over the line, done, fight sealed? Are you looking forward to it then, I'm guessing now?
Absolutely, yeah. I know it's been coming. Like we did the deal in February, you know. So I've known about it since then. But what has changed over the course of months is we've gone from a small show in Australia on a Wednesday night, you know, to getting it in America. Top Rank, one of the biggest promotional outfits there is out there. You know, Bob Arum, Top Rank, they promoted Muhammad Ali. So you know that's how big it is, and as well, it's now going to be live on ESPN, which is, you know, a massive channel in America. All big fights happen in America, so you know everyone from UK, you know, once you start boxing and climbing rankings, it's sort of every fighter's dream to go to be top at bill in America, and you know, we've done it. Not many get to do it, but you know, we're here, and I've earned it.
I know you had many other options on the table aside to obviously Kambosas. Was the pull to you obviously have experiencing one of those fight weeks in America rather than maybe taking one of the other fights?
It's not necessarily the fight week and stuff. It's just I wanted to be involved in big fights. So yeah, you know, it came about. I made it happen to fight a big name. I seen that George obviously had lost to Haney, and I didn't know whether, you know, after watching them, you thought, you know, George could retire. He's won all belts. Now he's made his money. Is he going to retire? But seeing that he were carrying on and he was staying at lightweight, so I thought, right, he's obviously going to be looking for a fight, so I'll throw my name in at see if I can bait him in, and you know, he took the bait.
Jorge Kambosas, obviously, he's mentioned your names. He mentioned your name a couple of times on interviews, and he's kind of maybe made it out as if you're not good enough to be in the ring with him and stuff like that. I know he's had obviously a big win to win the undisputed against Tio. Aside from that, obviously, do you feel that there's much of a gulf in class like he's making out?
No, if you look like you said, if you listen to George, he'll try and convince you that I'm not good enough to be there, but I've earned my shot. I'm high enough in all rankings. I am the IBO champion. You know, when I raise my level, like, let's look at his career. He had a close fight with Lee Selby, who was moved up 2 divisions, and then he had a fantastic night against Tio, his greatest night without a doubt, and nobody will take that away from him. I was a fan of his for that when he did that, and then excuse me, last year he had his 2 fights with Devin Haney, so 2 12-rounders, 24 rounds. He barely won a round out of 24 rounds. You know, he had the first fight, got beat convincingly. In his second fight, didn't make no adjustments, or whether he couldn't make adjustments. You know, so, you know, he says, oh, I've been in with elite. Yes, you have been in with elite, but you couldn't do no. But yeah, you know, he likes it to be the Kambosas show, and he goes harping on. But you know me, I'm a humble, down to earth guy. Don't say too much. You know, I let my fist do talking, and you know, I get in there and I get job done. As the underdog, as I've done in quite 80% of my last 6-7 fights. That's just what I do. So, you know, let him say what he wants, but it's just words, and it don't mean no to me. I'm a bit long in tooth to get into all that talking and arguing and thinking it's mind games. It's not me. I'm an honest pro. Just get in there, no nonsense, and get a job done.
Do you reckon, obviously, he's been signed with Top Rank, there's all been stuff around this rebuild. Do you reckon he has been maybe you reckon he's shown a bit of complacency towards yourself, maybe knowing that obviously it's his first fight with Top Rank, maybe he has cherry-picked you a little bit to think that maybe you are an easy opponent? Do you reckon he's maybe done that for his first fight, obviously on Top Rank and stuff?
He may have done, but I'd like to think not. I'd like to think of George, from what I've seen of him, following him over years, that he's a true professional. You know, he doesn't underestimate anybody, and you know, he puts it all in at gym and works hard. So, you know, that's on him. That's on his side. If he can do what he wants. Obviously, he has been signed with Top Rank, so he'll have a bit of a chip on his shoulder because of that. You know, they think of me. They think they're just bringing me in to make numbers up, but you know, if that's what they believe, then they're going to have a rate shot come fight night.
I just wanted to ask you as well, obviously, a couple of years ago when you were on about retirement, when you were saying, if I don't win this next fight, then I'm going to retire. And then fast forward on, you're headlining on a Top Rank show for is it an IBF eliminator as well?
Yeah, so we've got my belt online as well as an IBF eliminator.
It's crazy to think. I'm kind of seeing what kind of kept you going in them dark times, to think that where you are now, it's absolute madness, isn't it? What kind of kept you going in boxing? Did you kind of always visualise that you would be at this stage in your career?
No, like early on in my career, I always was I used to suffer bad with my own nerves. Like the first 2-3 times I boxed on Sky, the nerves and occasion got to me, and I didn't know how to deal with it because I was only young as well. But through experience, you know, get used to that. So obviously control my nerves, really believe in myself, and I guess what's kept me going is I've got a lot of resilience. Not, you know, I'm only just sort of learning this now, realising I'm a resilient person and pretty determined. And you know, having a good family, good support, and a good team around me. Like the last time I lost, 2019, to Liam Walsh in London, the drive home sort of cleared my head. I was devastated, telling Josh Reese and Sean in car on our way back. I'm telling myself I'm not good enough to just win a domestic title. You know, it just so happened that Liam Walsh was way above domestic level. His only loss in his career was to Gervonta Davis, which the more Gervonta does, you know, that loss for Liam just looks better and better. So, you know, and it was, I did lose, but it were a close fight, and it was actually, when I look back, a good performance. You know, although I didn't get a decision, it was a good performance. So, you know, I've got that in bank. That's something I know I can do. So I learned from that and taking that forward. You know, and it were only year after that, obviously COVID come, and I was in the mindset of I am going to win domestic titles, and that was just my goal. All I'd set my goal at is British champion or Commonwealth. So the aim was to push towards that, and then obviously COVID hit. But I was just so determined. Got the fights in COVID. 2021 achieved the goal, ticked that off, won the British title. But then, you know, reevaluated, reset goals, and then, you know, got the opportunity for the IBO, announced myself on the world stage, and now reset my goals. Was thinking, right, you know, let's go to the pinnacle at sport, and obviously fighting guys like George in America, you know, on one of the biggest platforms there is in boxing. You know, that's where we're going, and that's the new goals. Go over there, upset the apple cart, and change my life. And you know, there's not many from UK that get to do it, let alone Doncaster. You know, I know twins Gav and Jay. Gav went to America to fight for world title. He unfortunately didn't get the decision, but you know, Jay went over there twice, defended his title. But you know, it's a very, very small elite list from the UK that get to do it. So you know, I'm looking forward to putting my name on that list as someone who did it, and someone who in years to come, other kids can look up to me and say, Maxi did it. He was from a small village, Rosington, mining village. He did it. Started out in boxing. on the small hall shows, boxing at Donny Dome. When I even boxed at Donny Dome before Steffi had got his promoter's licence, so I think my first 4 or 5 fights on Carl Greaves shows. Carl used to put the shows on at Donny, and then Steffi had retired then and retired from fighting and got his promoter's licence. So, I've been on this journey with Steffi as he's grown. He's helped me out, got me on shows, building me, and this position we're in now. From the small halls to the big leagues.
Brilliant. I just want to quickly ask you a question as well about after boxing. I know that you're obviously a family man, and you made it clear that you want to go and raise as much, obviously get as much money for your family as possible, and have them a good life. But do you really want to stay? Would you want to stay in boxing after you've finished, or would you kind of want to go off on your own route and do something a bit different?
So from my obviously Seat Garden, behind is all farmland. I'm wanting to tap the farmer up and buy that bit of woods off him behind, and there's a couple of plots of land that I'll get my eye on, which are not up for sale yet, but I think they're either derelict or somebody's left them. So the plan is to get a piece of them pies and have like not a farm, but like almost like a little mini farm, a little tractor that I can cut grass on, a few animals. My missus, she wants a veg patch, and she's right into a gardening and growing veg and plants and all that. So that's something I'd like. But in terms of boxing, it's going to be hard to live without it. I was doing this since I was at school, since a kid. So it's helped me in so many ways in life. So to not be involved in it, I think it'd be. I have these battles. Some days I'm like, yeah, when I'm packing boxing, I'm gonna be able to walk away and just watch it on telly as a casual fan sort of thing, and then I get days and I'm like, because I've got my coach's badge as well, so I have days where I help, do a corner for lads in gym while they're sparring, help out, give them advice, and then other days I'm like, with my experience, I love boxing, and I can still try and help people and try and make them better because I've got the experience, I've been there and done it. So a part of me is like, stay in boxing. And then I also have my missus in my ear saying, please walk away from it, because if you become a trainer, then you're going to be away just as much as you are training. So, it's finding balance. I'm sure I will be around, I'll struggle to some show. I'll still always keep my eye on it. I've got a lot of friends in boxing, able to help out. I've got a wealth of knowledge, so we'll see. We'll definitely see. I'll not be canning in my trainer's license anyway, so I'll probably be staying in boxing.
Maybe managing could be a route.
I think about it, but just talking to Steffi and that, and other managers of the stresses, and I think. After putting my body through it, putting my body and my health on line, do I really need the stress? But from a selfless point of view, would I be able to help young fighters coming through? There's a lot to think about that, but I think just for the meantime, because I can fry my own head thinking about it, so I think, right, just forget that now, just concentrate on the career, one fight at a time. And we'll think about that once I do call it a day.
Last couple, Maxi. I just want to quickly ask you about a name that you was obviously linked towards fighting, Gary Cully. Obviously, fought on the Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron undercard, and it didn't go as planned for himself. Obviously, you were pushed heavily to go and fight Gary Cully. What are your kind of thoughts now? Obviously, watching that back, kind of what are your thoughts on that situation?
So. I think everyone knows when they put the fight to me, it was like, I'm better than this. I'm a lot higher up the rankings. I've earned my shot. I've not just been here overnight. I've earned a shot at the big time, which Eddie was saying that's where we're at. That's the kind of fights we're looking at. So Cully had not been around. He's tried to bypass domestic level. He's tried to run before he can walk, he's not putting the hard miles in terms of the domestic fights and the learning fights, and he's come unstuck, hasn't he? You know, it's what I always said it all along. You know, when he steps up, he'll get found out. You know, I believe I was levels above, which, you know, everyone can sort of see that now. But there was just a lot of hype around him. You know, he's been looking good on telly, but when you look at the level he's been fighting at, it's not major level, so he's not learning now. He's obviously he's got to rebuild himself now. He might never be the same again. You know, when you take, you know, I've not had a devastating loss like that. You know, we're all set up sort of for him and Katie, Irish boxing, this and that. But you know, it just didn't go. But you know, it's up to him now. He's got to look himself in the mirror. He's got to see how much he wants it. But yeah, you know, I'm on to much bigger things now.
Do you kind of maybe not kick yourself, but think, when looking back at that fight now, I know that you were very confident in yourself anyway, but you could have maybe gone on that Katie Taylor show and obviously upset the apple cart. Is there any regret or not at all, obviously, with the situation you're in now? Or
no, like for me, it wouldn't have been upsetting apple cart, because whether they saw me as an underdog or not, I'd have been a bit offended if I were underdog, because I've achieved a lot more. But again, I nearly took the fight. We said to Matchroom, if you can make it an eliminator for one of the other belts, or if you can guarantee me a big fight after, I'll do it. But you know, Cully weren't high enough to make it a big enough fight, and they couldn't guarantee me a big fight after, because, you know, let's say I fought him and beat him, all that the talk would have been, because they hyped Cully so much, they would have just said, oh, Cully wasn't ready, Max is too experienced. There wouldn't have been, oh, what a great win for Maxi, now he's ready for... I'm not going to be setting the world, you know, the Americans and Kambosas are not going to be going, oh, that's a great win, he's coming over here to thingy, like, Cully's only a novice, isn't he? He's obviously got a lot of learning, so I didn't kick myself. I just remember saying, you know, it just ticked that box to say I made the right decision. In, you know, I wanted big fights, so that for me wasn't a big enough fight, and there wasn't enough on the line to warrant me fighting. It was not just one backward step; it were a few backward steps. So, you know, now the fight with George, as well as an IBF eliminator, it's the direction that I feel I deserve, that I've earned, and where I want to take my career.
Excited and raring to go then on the 22nd of July.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've been training. I've been in gym. Don't have time out of gym, so I haven't had a training camp for this. We've just adjusted things to now turn it onto concentrating on George. But yeah, you know what, we've been training for George since February. You know, hard at it. So, you know, it's almost be like 6 months. 6 months concentrated on one man. I'm sick of saying George and Kambosas. So once we get out there and get the job done, I'll be glad to put it to bed.
Top man. Cheers for your time, Maxi.
Thanks, mate.